There's always been this fascination with secret societies, right? This promise of hidden knowledge, of these ancient rituals that can supposedly unlock our potential and even reshape reality itself. Well, today, we're going to peel back the curtain on one of the most intense and shortest-lived occult orders of the 20th century. And believe it or not, it all started with a single, very strange advertisement. So this is where our story kicks off. This little ad from a 1931 issue of the Occult Digest. Just imagine flipping through a magazine and seeing this, a shortcut to initiation. It's not just selling something, it feels more like a challenge, an invitation to something else. And this was pretty much the only public door into a secret order that called itself the G.B.G. So the G.B.G was an American occult group that promised its members that they would get results and get them fast. This wasn't about spending decades poring over dusty old books. No, this was a direct, really demanding path to what they called the Great Work, and it was all led by a pretty mysterious founder. And that founder was a man named C.F. Russell. He was a former associate of the, let's say, infamous Aleister Crowley. So the G.B.G didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It had a serious pedigree. Its core ideas flowed straight from the legendary Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, were filtered through Crowley's revolutionary and super controversial system of magic, and then landed here. But here's what made the G.B.G so different right from the get-go. The cost to join: $5. That's it. A one-time fee, no monthly dues, no hidden charges. See, this was never about making money. It was a filter. The real price of admission was your time, your absolute dedication, and your willingness to completely tear down and rebuild how you see the world. So let's say you paid your $5 and they accepted you. What happened then? Well, the work started immediately. I mean, right away. The goal wasn't just to learn about magic. It was to start building a magical reality from the inside out. And it all began with two practices that sound simple but are anything but. So the first two things they gave you were, on the surface, pretty simple, but they were incredibly demanding. First, every single morning, no excuses, you had to write down your dreams in a dream book. Then, every single night, you had to focus on who you wanted to be, not what you wanted to do, and write that down in a magical identity journal. This wasn't some casual self-help exercise. It was a hardcore daily rewiring of your entire consciousness. So why the obsession with dreams? Well, it was all about mastering this one state of mind, the borderland consciousness. You know that weird fuzzy space you're in right as you're falling asleep or just waking up? That's it. The order believed this was the magician's workshop, the place where you could train your imagination to become so powerful that it felt just as real as anything else. This one idea was the absolute foundation of their whole system. After a few months of this, the new member, the neophyte, would take 2 magical oaths. But these were totally different from the kind of self-help affirmations you might see today. Where an affirmation might say, "I am truth." The G.B.G oath was a promise. I swear to tell myself the truth. The difference is huge, right? It's not a statement of fact. It's a commitment to a state of constant, radical self-honesty that you had to live every single moment of every day. And then came the second oath, which was, wow, even more profound. Members had to swear to see every single event in their lives, and I mean everything, not just the big stuff, as a personal message between them and their highest self, which they called the Holy Guardian Angel, or HGA. Think about that. Suddenly, a random number on a bus or a bird flying by your window isn't random anymore. Your entire life just became a conversation with the divine. Okay, so once you've completely rewired your worldview, you were finally ready to move on from those foundational practices. Now it was time for the intense, formal ritual work that was really the heart of the order. And the goal of all of this? To finally make contact with that divine part of yourself. And this is the idea at the absolute center of everything they did, the Holy Guardian Angel, the HGA. Now, don't let the name throw you off. It's a concept that goes by a lot of different names. Your higher self, your divine genius, what Carl Jung might have called the daimon. To put it simply, it's your truest, most authentic self. And the entire goal of the great work was to achieve knowledge and conversation with it. And to make that happen, members would undertake something called the retirement ritual. And just look at these conditions. This was no casual weekend retreat. We're talking 3 days and 3 nights completely alone,
with no food, just water, while performing a really complex ritual 8 times a day. And get this, no fancy wands or daggers needed. The only tool was your own body. Your clenched thumb was the magical wand.
During this whole intense experience, the member would recite this powerful mantra, speaking as if they were the voice of their own holy guardian angel. This first line, "I am above you and in you," really gets at the core paradox of the HGA. It's something bigger than you, transcendent, above you, but at the same time it's completely a part of you, in you. And the mantra finishes with this just beautiful expression of unity. The goal wasn't to bow down to some distant, judgmental God. It was to realize that your own highest self experiences its joy and its ecstasy through your joy. It's an incredibly intimate and honestly life-affirming way of looking at the divine. So, after mastering all of these practices, a very select few were invited into the order's inner sanctum. And this is where the whole curriculum built up to its most powerful and definitely its most controversial secret. So, you have to be asking, what was this final secret? What was the ultimate practice that all of this incredibly intense work was leading up to? Well, it was a very specific application of what the order called sex magic. Now, to even approach this subject, the order steered clear of any crude terms. Instead, they used the cool, almost clinical language of alchemy. The participants were called the Red Lion and the White Eagle. Their sexual fluids were treated like alchemical ingredients, the elixir and the first matter. This whole thing was a focused, willed ritual designed to create a specific magical result, whether that was invoking a quality like beauty into their lives or achieving union with the HGA itself. You know, the G.B.G burned incredibly bright, but it also burned out incredibly fast. It just appears in 1931, and by 1936, the founder himself just says, the doors are closed. Within only about 7 years, this whole intense experiment in speeding up initiation was over. It vanished almost as quickly as it showed up. And that leaves us with this really fascinating paradox. The only reason we know any of this stuff today is because the entire curriculum of the G.B.G was eventually made public. So what's the real legacy of a secret order that ends up revealing all its secrets? Is the power in the hidden knowledge itself? Or is it in the incredibly demanding journey you have to take to really truly understand it?